Howdy folks, I'm just servicing one of my swash plates today, and I thought I'd record the process for anyone who's interested in how these things are put together, how they, what to check for on them, that type of thing. Now this isn't going to be for every swash plate out there, but this should give you a pretty good idea of what goes into them, what you can service on most of them, how you take them apart, that type of thing. So here's our 120 degree swash plate. 120 just refers to the input ear placement, 120 degrees apart on all three of them. As many know, the main purpose of a swash plate is to connect the non-rotating control components of a helicopter's control system, in our case the servos, up to the rotating components in the rotor head. So bottom half does not spin, upper half is phased and spins with the rotor head. There's generally two wear and tear components in swash plates. Your main rotation bearing, it's a large diameter bearing. That's what the upper half is spinning within. And then there's also a spherical plane bearing or plane bushing up in the top half, and that's what allows the tilt articulation angle of the swash plate in relationship to the rotor mast. That's what allows the upper half to still spin regardless of tilt angle. To get these things apart, there's three primary ways that the upper half is connected or held into the lower half. On little micros, it's just snapped in. They're just snapped together because there's not much load. On larger helicopters, you need some mechanical means of attaching them. The vast majority are held in with a threaded collar, which is what we've got here. Other ones will have a collar that actually bolts to the upper half of the swash plate. Those are a lot easier to work on. You just take the screws out and the top will separate from the bottom. So no big deal on those. But this one we have to unthread. Now the reason that we have to do that is because I've got some play in here. Now I doubt the camera can pick this up, but there's a little bit of play between the upper and lower. So this upper is moving back and forth slightly in relation to the lower, so I've got a little bit of slop in my collective. And for checking swash plates, you just want to make sure that upper half is spinning nice and smooth. There's no looseness, either radially or laterally. Now when I first suspected this might be a bearing issue because I do have that lateral movement, but I think it's simpler than that. I just think the retaining collar is loose and that's what's allowing some play in there, but we'll check it out. So, if you give it a spin, you don't want it to just keep spinning and spinning and spinning, meaning there's no grease or anything in it. It should be kind of buttery, smooth type thing. If there's a little bit of play in the spherical bearing, it's not a big deal because that has nothing to do with control input. If there's a little slop in there, it's not affecting your control inputs. There's no slop in the linkages with it, but it should obviously be free to move, not binding or anything. To take these apart, like I said, if it was bolted in, no problem, but to screw it in, we need some pin pliers. All of these things that are threaded in, the lower collars, will generally have two holes that you can get pin pliers in to unthread them and tighten them. Most are quite conical. I'm thinking of Lines and SABs. They've got very conical collars and the holes are quite close to the top of the collar, so you can get normal pin pliers, adjustable pin pliers. They've got really short little pins, but you can get them in there. This is a deeper one. Some swashes have deeper collars where the pin holes are, and you can sometimes use some snap ring pliers. A lot of people already have these. You can get those into the holes and try to torque them to loosen it off or tighten it, but of course they're not. Snap ring pliers are not designed to give torquing loads this way. Their main purpose is to spread apart snap rings. So you may be lucky with that, but you can't really get much torque and you could bend your pins. So you can try it on smaller ones, but chances are you'll wreck the pliers. What I've done, I made these a good number of years ago. It's just a crescent wrench, an old crescent wrench, and I just drilled some holes through the jaws of the wrench so I could pass little pins through. And I've got two different sizes on this specific one. These are 2.25 millimeter pins that I've got in there now, and the smaller holes are for 1.75 millimeter. And the spread of these goes anywhere from about 10 millimeters apart all the way up to just over 30. So this will work for any swash plate that I own. So the idea is you just size it so it gets in those holes. Okay, I'm just gonna, widen these so those pins are nice and tight in the holes. If you have to, hold the upper half from spinning with a rag or something so you can get a good grip on it. But this is really loose, and that's the problem. That collar has backed out a little bit from the upper half of the swash. So you just hold that retaining collar while you unscrew the upper half, and it just comes apart like that. Ideally, you probably want to put Loctite on here, but a lot of them don't have Loctite, and really it shouldn't need it because, if you've got a clockwise rotating rotor, in which case this is, most are, the lower half isn't spinning, the upper half is spinning with the head, so it's always trying to tighten onto that collar. So you should never really have it coming loose, but in this case it did, so it might have been vibration, it might have been right from the factory it was loose, and I didn't pick it up before. But if you notice some looseness in there, you can just try tightening it. That's the first thing. To get these out, sometimes these collars are really pressed into that bearing. I usually just get a socket. It's just big enough to fit the outside of the bearing while allowing that collar to slide down inside. Get another appropriate size socket that fits in the retaining collar, and then just give it a little tap out. And tap her through. And so that's all the collar is. You can see the two pinholes and then very fine threads that thread into the upper half of the swash here. And then here's our other bearing. It's that spherical plain bearing. These sometimes will have a number on them. This one does. It is a, what is that? GE10PW. Or you can just size it by knowing your inside diameter. They're sized by inside. This should be about 10 millimeters because it's a 10 millimeter shaft. So we'll call that 10. We'll call the outside 22. And the thickness is usually the last dimension. This is 13.96, so it's probably 14. So this would probably be a 10 by 22 by 14 if we had to buy a new one. And these can be made from a number of materials. This one is chrome steel inside a steel race. You'll often see phenolic balls inside a brass race. You can have brass and chrome steel. You can have nylon. It all depends on what the manufacturer wants to use in their swash plate. So pretty easy to replace those though. And then of course the other one is the big bearing. This one is a 6806 RS. RS stands for rubber seal, so it's sealed. It's probably a 2RS, meaning it's sealed on both sides, but regardless, you just want to check, again, nice and smooth rotation. You can feel there's grease in there, there's no looseness at all, so that bearing's in perfectly good shape if you had to replace it. This one is actually hard because it's pressed in to the lower swash plate ring. You could press it out. A lot of them, however, they're held in with screws. There'll be 3 screws, or how many, if you had a 4-quadrant swash, there'd be 4, but there'd be screws on the little ear arms, and the head of the screw would just cover the outside lip of the bearing race, and that's what would hold it into the swash plate. So these are easy to replace. They don't go out that often though, but consider the price of a new swash plate. Bigger swash plates anywhere between what, 50, 100 bucks, even more. If you just have to get one of these bearings to replace the main wear and tear components, you can do it for quite reasonable. This big bearing probably around 20 bucks. This little guy probably 10, 15. And we'll just put this back together real quick. I'm not going to put Loctite in it just while I'm putting it back together, but I am going to. Obviously something's coming apart on it, but it shouldn't. I should mention, if you had a counterclockwise rotating rotor, that would be one would be one reason why you definitely want to use Loctite on it, unless you had a left-handed threaded collar. Most helicopters though have clockwise rotating rotors, so we'll put the, these can be a bugger to get back in, so again we'll support the swash on the socket, get the appropriate size socket to fit in the center there. Does this one fit better? Oh, that one fits better. And we'll just give her a little tappy tap. Tap it all the way in. And now we'll just thread this back on. They're fine threads. Sometimes it can be a little bit of a challenge to line the threads up to get it started. So we'll thread it in and we'll get our little homemade pin pliers here. Adjust the mount so they're nice and tight in those holes. I'm just going to grab the upper half with a rag so I can get a really good grip on it as I start torquing this. There we go. Nice and tight, and no more play. And just check that it's still spinning smoothly. Yeah, and lube up that spherical bearing. You know, I use light grease usually on mine, or oil. But that's really all there is to swash plate inspection and maintenance. If you wanted to pull one apart and either check the bearings or replace them. Cheers folks, have a good one.